Experts are warning that Gauteng's water insecurity will soon reach crisis levels, putting the rest of the country at risk. More than 20 areas in Johannesburg will be affected by Rand Water's 37-day infrastructure maintenance, which started on Saturday and will experience water cuts and disruptions. However, from last week, several areas in Johannesburg have been experiencing dry taps. The blame has been placed on dilapidated infrastructure. Water management expert Professor Anja du Plessis joins us to unpack this issue. Prof, good morning to you. Obviously, we make a joke about it during the break there about, well, you know, is water coming out of your taps? I must tell you this morning, I turned the tap on, and you know, you do so with bated breath and you're nervous, and luckily some water coming out. But can we talk a little bit about just how bad the infrastructure damage really is? Because 37 days is a long time. So how much of an infrastructure problem does Gauteng have?
Look, we need to remember that the infrastructure maintenance that is currently happening is done by Rand Water. And this happens on an annual basis. They basically do it to ensure that there is stability within the system, that we do not experience dilapidated infrastructure, aged infrastructure, or a collapse. So we need to differentiate between the two, is to say Rand Water is the bulk water supplier. They are doing their maintenance as they should. So we should commend them on that. It's almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah. However, the main problems that we are seeing are within the municipalities. And the municipalities such as City of Joburg, City of Tshwane, and Criminality, just to name a few, that are fed by Rand Water, are experiencing prolonged water outages. As you said, a couple of neighborhoods last week already experienced dry taps. Certain parts of Northcliffe, Fairland, as well as Barario, they've been complaining since Saturday or Sunday that their taps have been dry for 9 days. They indicated that the Fairland reservoir is completely empty. They asked Joburg Water what is the issue, and councillors indicated to me that no answers are being given. So when the maintenance started with Rand Water on the 22nd of June, the story then changed, just to say, you know, you are experiencing dry taps because Rand Water is doing maintenance. So it seems like we are experiencing, unfortunately, like we have for the past couple of years, blaming once again. There has to be clear communication from Rand Water. If you do have a problem in like a pipe burst, like we had at Judges and Republic, where a car had to fall into the hole before Joburg Water went and to actually, you know, fix the pipes. Yeah. There has to be some, you know, accountability and transparency, because at this point in time, the public are not trusting Joburg Water in terms of the statements that they've been making. And that is primarily due to, you know, there's a lack of transparency, lack of communication. And can you really blame people that they do become frustrated when they open their tap and it's completely dry and no one can tell them why?
Yeah, it is frustrating. If you've been there before, it is incredibly frustrating. Could we see this becoming a national problem where maintenance and then a lack of water becomes an issue? I mean, we've certainly seen it in KwaZulu-Natal, for instance, right? But is it something that is an increasing problem?
Look, it is an increasing risk. As we've now seen in the Gauteng province, I think that unfortunately, you know, this with insecurity is unfortunately case studies that can show that what happens when you neglect your infrastructure for a decade, don't invest properly into it, don't assign a proper budget to actually maintaining it, fixing your pipes, making sure that, you know, it's quality that you are fixing, that it's being signed off, and all of those things. If we look at the city of Cape Town, they are a bit better. They do have maintenance programs that they've implemented there. And I think the main difference there is, you know, response time as well. So the reason why we're having these major water outages in Johannesburg, part of the problem is Joburg Water taking way too long to get to the issue. So I think the response time at this point in time is more than 90 hours. If you look at what's happening in the city of Cape Town, they're doing it within 24 to 48 hours. And that makes a big difference, you know, when you want to keep your reservoirs at a level where, you know, your water reticulation system, the pressure within it is not compromised, so that your high-lying areas like Melville, like Brixton and Joburg, which we know experience continued dry taps, so that they are at least assured some reliability in terms of water supply. So I would say it can be a warning for other metros within the country. However, if we look at our smaller towns like Oranieville, Bushbuck Ridge, all across the country with the smaller municipalities, they have been having these challenges for more than just a couple of years like we have had here in Joburg.
Yeah, it's almost difficult to ignore the governance issue, right? Because, you know, nationally we're having this discussion around a government of national unity, and then, of course, putting together a cabinet. In Gauteng, we need an executive members to be appointed as well by the Premier. Can we talk a little bit about how important that is and the sort of leadership that we need at the Department of Transport, at the Department of Water, nationally and certainly provincially?
Yeah, that does play a big role. I must say that the Department of Water and Sanitation, they have been building momentum over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Where the minister has also stated, you know what, they are now going to hold municipalities accountable. And I was just on radio with Stephen on SAFM, where I was asked exactly the same question. And my answer is, I hope that there is some continuity within the Department of Water and Sanitation. The Director General is doing a very good job in terms of accountability, transparency, and trying to get the leaders within the sectors together. That's what we need. We need experienced individuals. We need to work with civil society because they also play a major role, and then also work with private and public departments. So it's not a simple issue where you can say, okay, I'm going to put this person there and he or she is going to solve the water issues within the Gauteng province. It's going to be a multi-factor team of leaders from all kinds of sectors, because as you know, a good example would be if you leave a pipe bursting, water flowing, it not just causes water outages. It's got all the other effects as well. It affects businesses, it affects your household, but also it affects other infrastructure like road infrastructure as well.
Yeah.
So we need to look at this like a multifaceted problem that will need different minds and different perspectives to come together so that we can actually prioritize these solutions and get away or move towards from talking to actual action.
Yeah, you know, I think it's disappointing that when we have a discussion around providing water to people, to South Africans, you almost can't do so without talking about criminality as well, right? The city of Tshwane, for instance, reports of them having to cancel a tender that really was to distribute water to informal settlements. That was just a few days ago. And then also in Tshwane, now these reports of deliberate valve tampering, disrupting water supply to Retabiseng Township and surrounding areas. I mean, what do we do about that?
Well, the biggest thing is we will have to get the police involved. If the army needs to get involved, I don't know, as well. I mean, the MECs or the politicians that will have to sit together and look at these tenders, investigate them, audit them, and then make a decision on what the best way forward is. We know that it is costing money to send the army to go and protect our infrastructure, but you're right, it is a major issue. It's not just within the city of Tshwane, it is all across South Africa. And I think that it needs to be considered to be one of the major issues, because it's not just in terms of the tenders, limiting the informal settlements that like you call them, as well as the other towns that now they are dependent on water tankers. It's also a thing that we need to remember that it's not just physical leaks and bursting pipes that we have a problem with. Vandalism and theft, and now, as you say, sabotage is also playing major roles. It is affecting the revenue that municipalities at the end of the day collect, and that revenue should be used to attend your water infrastructure. So it's like a snowball effect. Now we have sabotage as well, because some people have now seen the opportunity to say, if I close this valve, then this neighborhood will not have any water. I am then also contracted by the municipality or whoever, and I will then stand ready with my water tanker. And if you ask the people in Hammanskraal, this is not a new issue. They have been complaining about this since the middle 2010s, 2015, thereabouts, where their water problems started to happen. and, you know, taps and valves or whatever were closed, not just with, you know, water quality not being on standard, but also that, you know, water tankers would come, it would say that it is for free. However, some of the community members said that these water tankers come, they take the water out of the JoJo tanks that's supplied by the municipality,
Gosh.
they fill their water tankers, and then they actually charge the community to make use of that water as well. And I mean, this is now almost a decade of this. It needs to be investigated. There needs to be some kind of action that is taken. So I really hope that the executive and the powers that be, with the politicians, with this government of national unity, look at these things and work together. Because if we start to work in silos like we have been doing the past 2 decades, we're not going to make the progress that we need to at the rate that we have to.
Yeah, I mean, when you say 37 days of water infrastructure maintenance in the Johannesburg area, and then you hear reports of some of the stories that you're talking about. Of course, some of the ones I'm talking about are Antoine, but still, the broader issues make you feel like 37 steps forward, a few steps, 50 steps back. But are you optimistic that at some point, perhaps in the near future, we can get the infrastructure up to scratch?
I am optimistic in the sense that, that, as I said, the Department of Water and Sanitation, they are getting momentum. They are holding municipalities accountable. They are ring fencing funding, let's say, to wastewater treatment works that hasn't been functioning. So in terms of that, I am optimistic that there is also drive from civil society, from water experts asking for accountability and saying, listen, we are willing and able to assist with this. Make use of our skills, make use of our knowledge, so that we can come up with a prioritized and logical plan at the end of the day.
Yeah. Prof, an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much. Professor Anja du Plessis, the water management expert, as we talk about experts having warned that Gauteng's water insecurity could reach crisis levels. We'll keep you updated, of course, as this infrastructure maintenance project continues up until the end of July.